Namaskar and welcome to Sansad Television. I am Vishal Dahiya and you're watching our show House Highlights, where we bring you details of day's proceedings in both houses. Let's begin with the headlines first. Parliament passes Criminal Procedure Identification Bill 2022 after it is approved by the Rajya Sabha. With the approval of Rajya Sabha, Parliament also passes Constitution Scheduled Tribes Order Amendment Bill 2022. External Affairs Minister asserts India is on the side of peace on Ukraine issue, says India's approach on the crisis guided by national beliefs and values and national interest. Lok Sabha passes the Weapons of Mass Destruction and Their Delivery Systems Prohibition of Unlawful Activities Amendment Bill 2022. MPs across party lines support bill prohibiting financing of weapons of mass destruction. And time now for details on all these news. Parliament on Wednesday passed the Criminal Procedure Identification Bill 2022 with the Rajya Sabha approving it. The bill seeks to allow investigators to collect a certain identifiable information of convicts and other persons for purposes of identification and investigation in criminal matters. However, the amendments moved by the opposition to refer the bill to the Select Committee was negated by the House. The Lok Sabha has already passed this particular bill. Replying to a debate on the bill, Home Minister Amit Shah said this bill has been brought in to ensure that police and investigators remain 2 steps ahead of criminals.
किसी घर में चोरी होगी तो पुलिस अफसर फॉरेंसिक साइंस की टीम को बुलाकर वहां जो उपलब्ध फिंगरप्रिंट है उसको लेगा। घर के लोगों के फिंगरप्रिंट लेकर उसमें से घर के लोगों के फिंगरप्रिंट को बाहर निकाल देगा। जो बच जाएगा वो फिंगरप्रिंट चोरी करने वाले शंकास्पद व्यक्ति के है। आज स्थिति है पुलिस उसको ढूंढती है, उसका फिंगरप्रिंट लेती है और फिर मैच करती है। अब क्या होगा, वो फिंगरप्रिंट वो भेजेगा एनसीआरबी को। वो पुलिस स्टेशन को या पुलिस को पूरे फिंगरप्रिंट का एक्सेस नहीं है। वो पुलिस स्टेशन भेजेगा फिंगरप्रिंट एनसीआरबी को। एनसीआरबी 1 करोड़ फिंगरप्रिंट के डेटा को 3.5 मिनट में रन कर अगर उसमें वो चोर है तो उसका नाम पुलिस स्टेशन को भेज देगा। पुलिस को ढूंढने की जरूरत नहीं। अब भला बताइए इसमें क्या निजता का हनन होगा? क्या हनन होगा? किसी महिला पर अगर बलात्कार हुआ है, वहां से जो बायोलॉजिकल सैंपल मिलेगा उसका बायोलॉजिकल सैंपल के डेटा के साथ जिन्होंने महिलाओं के अपराध किया है इसके साथ मैचिंग कर अपराधी को जल्दी पकड़ लिया जाए और 1 साल के अंदर मुझे सजा हो, इसमें क्या आपत्ति हो सकती है? निजता का हनन तो तब होगा जब ये डेटा पुलिस स्टेशन को उपलब्ध कराएंगे। किसी को ये डेटा नहीं देना है। पुलिस स्टेशन से क्वेश्चन आएगा, इसका मैचिंग कर जवाब पुलिस स्टेशन पर जाएगा जो कोर्ट में एडमिसिबल एविडेंस होगा। मैं सदन को आश्वस्त करना चाहता हूं कि इससे किसी का भी निजता का हनन नहीं होने वाला है। कोई डेटा लीकेज का क्वेश्चन डज नॉट अराइज। रूल्स के अंदर इसकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी भी फिक्स की जाएगी और इसकी जिम्मेदारी भी तय की जाएगी। जो डेटा रखने वाले हैं उसकी जिम्मेदारी। और आजकल तो मान्यवर टेक्निक बहुत आगे गई है। कोड के बगैर डेटा नहीं मिलेगा, इसका कंप्यूटर की क्लॉक में समय भी निश्चित हो जाएगा।
Initiating the discussion on the bill, P. Chidambaram of Congress asked the bill to be sent to a standing committee or a select committee. Members cutting across party lines took part in the discussion. Let's listen into.
Any person convicted of an offense punishable under any law. So even if you are convicted of an offense where the punishment is 100 rupees, this law applies. If a person is ordered to give security under section 107, 108, 109, 110, 117 for keeping the peace, for good behavior, you are violating the law. If you are arrested in connection with an offense punishable under any law, if a bus driver strays from the bus lane in Delhi, he is violating a law. I oppose this bill. I ask this House to reflect. Since we won't have time to reflect today, I beg of you, send this to a standing committee. or send this to a select committee and let them examine and come back. What has waited for 120 years, 102 years, can wait another 102 days. Thank you.
The right of privacy should also inure for murderers, rapists, fraudsters, forgers, and terrorists. Why? All that is being done is that a record is being kept of your misdeeds. And there are limitations. It only applies to two categories of persons: convicted criminals and to under trials.
Please.
It applies to under trials as well. Right. Now, as far as under trials are concerned, there's a clear prescription in the proviso to Section 4. The proviso says that if you are acquitted, if somebody who's arrested but is subsequently arrested or discharged or not sent up for trial, any of these three categories, then the records which were obtained at the time of his arrest will cease. They'll be deleted. They'll be erased from the record. Under trials, acquitted in any case have a right to have their records established and not to be forgotten. But sir, as far as criminals are concerned, this is a very, very important act because, sir, crime never dies, A. They have a right to be forgotten. Criminals have a right to be forgotten, but that right will only take place after they die posthumously. Then their records may be erased.
Sir, the bill presents significant concerns of excessive delegation of legislative authority to the rule-making bodies, as well as excess delegation of power to functionaries under the bill in violation of Article 14 of the Constitution. Sir, these functionaries include police officers at the rank of head constable, magistrates, as well as prison officers. In addition, the bill creates an unreasonable classification between classes of arrestees that may be compelled to give biological samples and those who may not.
Certain terms have been left undefined and unclarified. The bill does not provide an exact definition of measurement. The definition provided in clause 2(1)(b) is open to an expansive interpretation. Further, terms used like biological samples and the analysis of biological samples remain undefined. This is a deviation from Section 53 of CRPC, which clearly defines samples on which examinations can be conducted. However, under this bill, it is not clear what kinds of measurements constitute biological samples.
This bill will ensure that there will be low conviction. As of now, there is a low conviction rate in India. This will improve the conviction rate. Murder, the conviction rate in India, murder 41%, rape 39%, attempt to murder 24%, accused were convicted only. This is the percentage. Let us compare with that of the conviction rate abroad. United Kingdom, 83.6%, USA 93%, Japan 99%. This is the first reason why we are supporting this bill.
सेलेक्ट कमेटी में आपका ही बहुमत होगा, आपके द्वारा नॉमिनेटेड किया गया चेयरमैन होगा, तो उसमें दिक्कत क्या है? कानून की जब भी स्क्रूटनी होती है तो कानून की क्वालिटी में सुधार होता है और जब आपका बहुमत है, आपका चेयरमैन होगा, उसमें आपके द्वारा बनाई गई सिलेक्ट कमेटी होगी। सिर्फ ये है कि अगले सेशन के पहले दिन आखिरी दिन तक रिपोर्ट देने के लिए चेयर कहेंगी तो तब आ जाएगा। कोई पहाड़ नहीं टूटा जा रहा है, कितने देर बाद यह आए। और जहाँ तक नई टेक्नोलॉजी का सवाल है, इसमें से कई चीज़ें पहले से भी प्रयोग में हो रही हैं, फिंगरप्रिंट और ये सारी चीज़ें। मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि 1920 के बाद से जैसे जैसे नई टेक्नोलॉजी आई है, रेट ऑफ कन्विक्शन कम हुआ है। पिछला रिकॉर्ड उठा के देख लीजिए।
अगर क्राइम रोकने के लिए सब जांच कराना हो तो उसमें क्या हर्ज है? जेल में जो कैदी हैं उसकी भी जांच होनी चाहिए और इसका प्रयोगशाला में भी, विधि विभाग द्वारा प्रयोगशाला में भी जांच का सर्वेक्षण होना चाहिए, प्रशिक्षण होना चाहिए, और ये क्षण के बात आएगी तो क्राइम होने में कमी आएगी।
Parliament passed a bill on Wednesday for the inclusion of the Dalong community as a sub-tribe of Kuki in the list of scheduled tribes of Tripura. Rajya Sabha passed the Constitution Scheduled Tribes Order Amendment Bill 2022 with a voice vote. Lok Sabha had cleared the bill on 28th of March. Replying to the debate on the bill in the Upper House of Parliament, Minister of State for Tribal Affairs Renuka Singh Saruta said the inclusion of the Dalong community as a sub-tribe of Kuki will give it an identity in the list of scheduled tribes of Tripura.
किसी भी समाज के विकास के लिए, किसी भी देश के विकास के लिए सबसे पहले ज़रूरी ये होता है कि शिक्षा उन्हें मिलनी चाहिए। तो हमारी सरकार ने ट्राइबल क्षेत्रों में जो बच्चे रहते हैं उन बच्चों को अच्छी शिक्षा देने के लिए एकलव्य मॉडल स्कूल का गठन किया। मैं आपको ये बताना चाहती हूँ कि 2013-14 के पहले ये एकलव्य मॉडल स्कूलों की संख्या लगभग 167 थी और आज मुझे बहुत खुशी हो रही है सदन को बताते हुए कि 2021-22 में एकलव्य मॉडल स्कूलों की संख्या 679 है और एक स्कूल में 480 बच्चे सीबीएसई कोर्स के माध्यम से पढ़ाई करते हैं। ऐसे 50% ट्राइबल बाहुल्य वाले गांव हैं, उसमें से 36,000 गांव को हमने इस वर्ष लिया है और उन ग्राम पंचायतों में 100% विकास के लिए जैसे कुछ राज्य सरकार भी उसमें काम करेंगी और जहां जहां पर भी गैप रह जाएगा उस गैप फिलिंग के लिए भारत सरकार प्रधानमंत्री आदि आदर्श ग्राम के माध्यम से काम करेगी।
Earlier, initiating the discussion on this bill, Phuludevi Netam of Congress asked the centre to look into the demands of ST status by many communities of Chhattisgarh as well.
छत्तीसगढ़ सरकार ने सोरिया, भारिया, भूमिया, धनवार, नगेसिया, धागड़, बिड़िया, गदवा, गोद, कोड़ाकू, पंडो, भारिया और गोड आदि समुदाय को भी जोड़ने के लिए जनजाति कार्य मंत्रालय से दिनांक 15 अक्टूबर 2020, 8 फरवरी 2021 और 6 दिसंबर 2021 को पुनः पत्राचार किए। महोदय, इसी तरह अनुसूचित जनजाति में महार जाति को भी जोड़ने के लिए भी प्रस्ताव भेजे गए हैं, लेकिन ये सभी प्रस्ताव केंद्र के पास लंबित है। बिल का समर्थन करते हुए सरकार से मांग करती हूँ कि छत्तीसगढ़ सहित अन्य राज्यों से भेजे गए प्रस्ताव पर भी शीघ्र विचार करें और सदन में संविधान संशोधन विधेयक लेकर आए, जिससे मुख्यधारा से छूट चुके राज्यों का आदिवासी, दलित, पिछड़े समुदाय को आरक्षण का लाभ दिया जा सके।
The bill would be justice to the Dalong community. In view of this bill, the living condition of the Dalong community would be good as well as in education, health, etc. It is a reflection of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas and Prayas of our Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji.
The Valmiki Boya community in Andhra was included under scheduled tribes in scheduled areas, and the people from the same community living in other areas are considered backward classes. There is no sufficient rationale behind the differentiation of the Valmiki Boya community living in scheduled areas. So I would request the central government to accept the long-standing demand of the Boya Valmiki community by including the entire community under the scheduled tribe category.
Lok Sabha today passed the Weapons of Mass Destruction and Their Delivery Systems Prohibition of Unlawful Activities Amendment Bill 2022. MPs across party lines supported the bill, which seeks to prohibit financing of weapons of mass destruction. Initiating the discussion, Congress MP Uttam Reddy proposed that the term individual in the bill should be replaced with organizations and countries which finances weapons of mass destruction. Minister of External Affairs S. Jaishankar said that the bill has been brought keeping in mind the national interest and the global interest, and also to strengthen India's credentials and image.
The issue is whether the proposal is it very narrow. Speaker sir, it is meant to be an amendment for a shortcoming or a something which is missing in the current law. It is not meant to be a new law. It is not meant to be a broad policy directive. So I would like honorable members to appreciate it. I appreciate and understand a lot of what they have said on different issues. Many of them are not directly relevant to what we are discussing. In some cases, these are issues which, for example, there was a reference to BrahMos missile. I think Raksha Mantri ji has made a statement already on this issue. There were some other issues which came. I don't want to take all the issues. We are already at 6 o'clock. But I want to emphasize that the whole purpose of this exercise is to make a very specific change in law, additionality in law, so that this country's record, this country's reputation, this country's security is ensured by financial measures which the government is in a position to take.
You should now consider that this act applies to foreigners, foreign citizens where we have extradition agreements with. And as far as countries, I mean, we all know who is financing the terror operations against India. And there is specific information about them financing weapons of mass destruction. I think FATF has also put Pakistan on the grey list.
जब अमेरिका उससे उभर रहा था, उसके बाद लोगों के घरों में चिट्ठियां आनी शुरू हुई. जो चिट्ठी खोल रहा था, खोलते ही मर जाता था. उसके अंदर एंथ्रैक्स लेस्ड लेटर थे. ऐसा भारत में भी एंथ्रैक्स लेस्ड लेटर्स ऐसा भारत में भी हो सकता है. देश की सरकार की जिम्मेदारी होती है कि देश के नागरिकों को सुरक्षित रखना.
What type of treaty we are going to enter with other countries? Suppose the countries are not in our line. What will be the solution? What will be the purpose of these legislations? I am having my own doubt. Sir, what happened in what America did in Iran in the name of checking proliferation? By using the proliferation, America entered into Iran and did all these inhuman activities.
I'd like to know from the Honourable Minister, what world order is it talking of? And which side will be? Because yesterday I raised some questions. He was busy and I was insignificant. He didn't reply. I said, why has India gone into passive diplomacy?
संयुक्त राष्ट्र परिषद सुरक्षा परिषद जो है, यूनाइटेड नेशन सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल, इनकी ओर से भी अहम निर्णय लिए गए हैं कि ऐसे में 17 साल पुराने कानून के ऊपर संशोधन करें और उसके ऊपर नया सुझाव लाकर नई दिशा से बढ़ते जाए. इसके लिए इस कानून की आवश्यकता निर्माण हो चुकी है.
India underlined the importance of the Chemical Weapons Convention and the Biological Weapon Convention as examples of non-discriminating treaties in the field of disarmament for the total elimination of specific type of nuclear weapons of mass destruction.
All the states shall refrain from providing any form of support to actors that attempt to develop, acquire, manufacture, possess, transport, transfer, or use nuclear, chemical, or biological weapons and their means of delivery, in particular for terrorist purposes. The resolution requires that all states.
India is very serious and committed. I think that's the only suggestion that I would really like to make. Besides this, I mean, in the larger scheme of things, it's a very small example, but I would like to put it on the table that in Maharashtra recently, there was a small power crisis in Mumbai city for over 3 hours. And people say it was hacking, it was electromagnetic system which collapsed. This could be a very small trial.
How do we assure that non-nuclear countries of their sovereign rights? How do we prevent nuclear countries from misusing their nuclear threat to bully smaller non-nuclear countries? This needs to be addressed by the world at large, and India has a leading role to play in defining this, sir, going forward. Sir, what is the future of non-proliferation really needs to be carefully examined, understood, and a new paradigm needs to emerge, sir.
It is alarming to note that still the world possesses more than 13,400 nuclear weapons. There have been over 2,000 nuclear tests conducted to date. So disarmament is the best protection against such dangers.
Further discussion on the Ukraine crisis under Rule 193 continued in Lok Sabha today. Replying to the discussion in the Lok Sabha on the situation, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar said all members would agree that India's approach should be guided by its national beliefs and values, national interest, and by its national strategy. He asserted that India is strongly against the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Talking about the civilian killings in the Ukrainian city of Bucha, Jaishankar said India is deeply disturbed by the reports. He also said that attributing a political color to India's actions vis-a-vis the Ukraine situation was unfortunate.
At a time when energy costs have spiked, clearly we need to ensure that the common person in India is not subject to an additional and unavoidable burden. Similarly, fertilizer prices have a direct implication for the livelihood of the majority of our population. And indeed, for food prices for all of us. Even the security of the nation is at stake as we maintain our defense posture in the manner that the current security challenges warrant. All these, Speaker Sir, are legitimate pursuits of national interest by India. The government believes that it should have 4 elements. 1, in terms of diplomacy, India continues to press forcefully for an immediate cessation of hostilities and an end to violence. We encourage talks between Ukraine and Russia, including at the level of their presidents. Prime Minister has spoken to them both himself in this regard. और वो ट्रेन इसीलिए स्पेशल ट्रेन चलाए गए क्योंकि हम लोगों ने यूक्रेन सरकार पे दबाव डाला और कहा कि हमारे स्टूडेंट हैं वहाँ, तो आप जब तक वो निकलेंगे आप प्लीज़ ट्रेन चलाते जाइए। और उसके कारण और जो बसेस हैं कुछ लोगों ने अपना लिया, कुछ लोगों कंट्रैक्टर ने दिया, कुछ बसेस के लिए हम लोगों ने उसकी जो व्यवस्था जो की। तो मैं ये नहीं चाहूँगा कि अब ऑपरेशन गंगा हो चुका है हमारे, therefore India's approach will be to promote dialogue to end the conflict, mitigate economic distress for itself and for the world, and to work with its partners to these ends. I can also say that many other nations who have engaged us recently at the level of Prime Minister, at my level with other ministers, they share such a view. Many of them are glad to work with us. Many of them are pleased that we have taken the lead in many of these issues.
We want more specific replies. That what would be the fate of the students? You are telling Ukraine agreed. What is the existence of the Ukraine government now? Are they under the control of the Soviet Russia, Russian Federation? Or they are standing with their own feet? That is still uncertain. It is not clear from your observation side speech. So let the House be assured, let the students' community be assured in a time-bounding program.
Whether this government has been approached by other countries to mediate in the war between Ukraine and Russia in order to find out any convenient way so as to solve the issue amicably.
I heartily appreciate the efforts taken by the MEA as well as the government. I heartily appreciate, sir. But the future of the students, as he has some suggestions about that, the students are still have apprehension because the parents are beating us and they're asking what will be the future of the student who are, because 6th year is the internship, where you have said Croc 2 will begin, that is fine. What about the other students?
That's all we have in this edition of House Highlights. We'll come back again tomorrow with all the details. Till then, keep watching Sansad Television. Thank you.